Guacamole. Yeesh. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at an ATEEZ concept video. I believe the member is San, and one of our SMF performers from Ambitious Tarzan is affiliated with this routine of some kind. I have not seen it. I also technically haven't done any analysis from ATEEZ yet on the channel, so this will kind of be a really interesting first introduction for me. And yeah, I cannot wait to get started, so let's go ahead and take a watch.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play. And you lay awake at night and scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream.
Love the cameraography here. That was such a cool transition. Wow. Okay. I had no idea if these were real tattoos or not. The tension he carries in his upper body is really cool. It's just really captivating in how it matches the specific tonal colors that he's choosing to hit here. Ooh, got some crump fundamentals in play. Love it. Ooh, love that ending there. Guacamole. Yeesh. Wow. Okay, that was pretty cool. Definitely initial thoughts. Like I said, it's the first time that I'm reacting to ATEEZ of any kind. I have seen them before, obviously, because I've dived into the realm of K-pop long before I did Just Reacts. So I've seen them. I know some choreographers that choreograph for them as well, so I understand. I have a little bit of that kind of understanding of their scope too with that. None here, but just in some of their other discography. as well as some controversies that have come up from, you know, from other people, plagiarism cases, things like that. But that's not about this at all. Just taking a look from the top, I absolutely love this. It's very captivating. I think that part of me was like, are these real? These tattoos real? Because for me, I have both of my arms done, so I am no stranger to the world of ink, but I don't know this idol in particular, his tattoo scope. I also know you have to cover up your tattoos if you are on a lot of the TV shows or shows, Asian shows. So it is interesting here that it's cool that we have this, and I'm going to assume that most of them are not real because it's all the warriors. So it was kind of working with the trend of the track. It's Imagine Dragons. They're very intense, that track is. So just seeing this is this is really cool. And I know he was part choreographer for this as well. If somebody told me, because there's so much crump in this, if somebody told me that somebody from SMF choreographed it, I would not think Tarzan. I would have thought Prime Kings, because Prime Kings was the crump crew that we know. But I think Tarzan did a great job, San did a great job, and I know there's another person as well, but y'all fill me in on their scope as well. I'd love to see it. This whole beginning, I'm gonna have to turn it up just a little bit because there's a lot of heavy musicality here at this beginning. There really isn't anything except for... So they're choosing to use the fingers to really hit all of those notes. Do-do-do-doom, doom, doom, do-do-do-doom. And notice that the pitch of the piano starts and then it lowers. It's just mostly a key, not really like an entire octave or anything. Dun, 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 you know? Just play the notes in succession. And they dropped it from high to low. And they use the piano, like the imagery of the fingers, to help emulate those sounds. And I love that because of the piano, you play it with your hands. A lot of times we associate hands with piano. So that's really fun. Having his arms out, moving the head into the wave. That right there, going into the shoulders. For me, I've seen Just Jerk really utilize that, because I'm coming from an SMF lens, knowing one of the people who were working on this. I've seen this kind of role. I'm not referencing it as, any of my references are not in a sense of stealing or biting of any kind. It's just I'm just citing my source somewhere I've seen it before, in the admiration of utilizing it in the section or timbre that they chose to do. So I just want you to know that before I continue, but just love that here. He chose to do a standard wave, but he internalized it. So there is a difference between, like, I'm trying to find the best angle. There's an external wave where you're really seeing the transition and the facet of the joints, and then there's the internal wave excuse me, where you can see the wave, but it kind of feels encapsulated, right? And those are two different techniques, and they're two different ranges of a similar technique. And I really love that they went through the more like rigid internal route, because it helps you really try to pay attention. And when you do a cinematic concept video of some kind, this really is captivating in that level whenever you see that here. And how it goes in, doom, using the head to reverb, to hit, or vibrate more so, to hit back. It's very interesting. I'm not used to seeing people use the head to kind of whip it back. And then everybody chose to do a vibration to hit towards the outside, you know? And they chose to vibrate here to move their head, versus what he did is he vibrated his... Let me see how he specifically did that, because it's interesting. Oh, he shook it to bring it back. So it's like a mix of, it's similar to reverberation of the hand, but you want to think about moving from point A to point B very quickly to whip it back. But I love that, though. The tension of the neck to help bring that to life is just so captivating.
You would wait.
That right there, there's a time, boom, boom, it's just the framing out and then bleeding it back in. Super cool. Then from there, da, 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 da. So they're just using the pull, like the push and pull of the tone to help create or justify the layers they choose in these formations. Man. And I think it's really cool, just his usage of, what he's wearing. It's gray, but it's still a neutral. So he doesn't like stick out a huge amount, but he does stick out enough, you know, and he's wearing long sleeves. Everybody else is wearing all black and they're wearing mesh. So you see that he's wearing long sleeves as well, but because they're in mesh, you see just a little bit of like human skin, but not like a ton. It's just super cool seeing this here. Just here, they're just using wordplay and they're using just the intricacies of the rhythmic pattern of the vocals to help with all of this upper body intricacy. And it's really cool that Hassan is the only one up and everybody else is kneeling, so it's a very natural focal point and feature. And you also see here, if you look at his costume, he has chains, so I'm assuming bondage warriors, you know, overcoming adversity, right? Would kind of be my natural assumption in how they're approaching this concept. That right there, this is cool. Boom. He has more of like a lanky, lethargic posture, and I love this because they've now shifted the style of the color of the camera work. They went from that more what is it? They call it, I don't think it's the ISO. Wipeout, nope. It's the frames, the FPS, the frames per second. They dropped it, and it's what causes that kind of shutter effect, or the shutter speed. That's what it is, shutter speed. They slowed it, so they're able to catch that kind of effect, that film effect, right? And then you see just a different angle. He falls down, he comes back up. There's just a lot of opposition in the camera work, so it's super impressive. And then they go boom, and they still carry that lanky, lethargic posture before they set up down in front of him. He's controlling them as well, which is a really nice thing you can use with your feature, is the uses of puppeting, triggering, any type of effect. He's not doing as much as what they are, but he's still just as impactful because of his investment, even in the simplistic pulling down and pulling up with his hand. And the timing matters too. Even there, even so far as to let the hand go, and everybody has a low-key visceral reaction to it with the chest and the head. That's incredible. And then the color grading went from colorized to a more black and white grain, and then it broke out into more, now we're in a different historical color grade. They are also in different outfits. Kind of looks like he's off to conquer, right? This is like, we are warriors who built this town, so he has, it's not really minions, but like his henchmen, and he's the leader of them, kind of going and taking over, is what it comes across as. Go nice popping technique, boom, 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 boom. I would consider it more bopping than popping, and there's a difference between the two. Popping is more, I would say, they're doing triple hits, maybe vibrations. I'm gonna say vibrations. If you're gonna hit the quad, it is really hard to do that with popping. I would assume it's I have to think through it. There's a lot of thinking that I'm having to do to really process, because there's a lot of enmeshment of styles that we're seeing here, because all of what he's doing is not the same style. There's a lot of heavy popping techniques, some animation technique, a little bit of waving. You also have some crump as well. So, and they're all different with different communities, different music genres, different key figures, the whole lot. So that's why like my brain's trying to calibrate where this technique or texture was adopted from. And I would say this one is more like a I would say they get away with the vibration, that or they're bleeding over into different poses. And they're using the feet to help justify that. Then he uses his elbows to get everybody locked back up and in unison again. And that's another example too. When everybody else is using their body, he's using his body, but more so his hand is the feature for that section for him versus just his body. And they throw it, then he brings it back, and he goes warriors, and he creates that tension and holds it. And that's what I like about how San presents himself in this concept is, here's the thing, it's the first time I'm seeing him in this light. I've seen ATEEZ before, but I can't put faces to names. I can't, and so I'm going to try to remember that this is San whenever I do react to the whole group. With San, he has just throughout the whole thing, I'm noticing that he has a really great tension, but not tension where it's restrictive, tension meaning that he's able to carry the power and energy that is required to execute a lot of the movements that are asked of him to match the quality and level of intensity of his music. So that's something very impressive I'm seeing from him here. And I will say that men can typically do this more effectively than women in a natural biological sense. Now, I'm not saying at all that women can't crump, women can't do masculine genres, not my point at all. As somebody who does masculine genres, and I've studied crump and I've studied a lot of those masculine posture genres, they are different in how you hold yourself naturally than whacking, or with whacking too, that came from more of it did not come from a woman community, it came from a minority community. So that's a completely separate topic. But my entire point here is it's really, you know, how men carry themselves. There's a more natural transition into how they hold that energy. It's really, I respect it a lot, because as a woman, it is hard for me to hold that energy there, even though I've tried and I've studied and I've trained my body to do it. It's very commendable whenever I see people do it. That's really just my main point. Anyway, I just really like how he's holding himself and holding the energy without it restricting other aspects of the legato grooves that we see later on. You know, it's all stemmed in the shoulders, but he goes boom, boom, more controlling, you know, and they hit here, boom, boom, as they prep up. And so he's going in opposition or going second compared to everybody else. And then you see him match up. He's continuing to make smart choices to represent himself as a key figure in this concept. And I like it. Of course, costume and everything. And of course, we know he's the ATEEZ member represented and everything. But it's still like, they're doing a great job, because remember, I'm not coming at this from a fan lens. I'm coming at it from a content lens. I'm familiar with the content that is being presented, not the people doing it, you know? So it's very easy for me to find who they want me to focus on. So kudos to the cinematography, the editing, the color grading, the costuming, all of that. It's very impressive. That right there, he did a couple of jab variations, kind of swung his arms around, but he still maintains the carriage of a crump carriage. And that's why a lot of these moves hit really well on a lot of the basses and the drums and the percussion, because he's already holding it and he's not letting it go unless there's a reason to let it go. So just seeing that here, oh, I muted it. So he goes, that was so interesting. He goes up and he smiles. Like, it's just like, that was just not a break of character, but like like cutting the tension with a knife, you know, like that was the knife that we saw cut it. It's just really, it's super cool. His arms are up, also demonstrating, you know, it's still him. That warrior builds his town. I love that a lot of times he mouths the words too. It helps me really emphasize, like, I'm knowing what words he's wanting for us to resonate with in the concept. It feels like they're pushing that resistance on him before it transitions over into the next section of the concept. But I love how he gets pulled down, he gets pulled back, and it's just the investment up here is really helping justify the other physicalities that we mentioned in collaboration with the musicality that we've already seen demonstrated. That right there, as he pulls through, they used a zoom transition to get us over to another section, more foggy. That right there, doon, doon, doon. Nice camera work for me. That feels very, we've seen TikTok realms where they grab the phone and they do that. That's what it reminds me of. But I love it whenever, in these cameras, they ain't holding an iPhone, that's for sure. They're holding a gimbaled, beastie, weighty thing. So I'm always impressed when they're able to do that. Because it's not a situation where they can hold it still and then he does that and then they can edit it. I mean, maybe they could, you know, I feel like they could, but a lot of times it just looks better whenever they just move the camera themselves. Let me see. Well, there's a good chance that they left it where it was because they zoomed in and they could have keyframed it. So they did a zoom in and then done the filter, because cameras a lot of times are really hard to do that with. I don't know. I wasn't on set. I can't answer this for you. And I haven't seen the behind the scenes if there is one. But anyway, I love that. And right there, they goes in, it pulls up and the camera shot goes aerial. Love it. I will say that's something I'm noticing. He is letting his head either get drawn back or fall forward. You know, there's a lot of lethargic posture in the head when he's furthering the story, not when the crump pockets in display as much, more so the beginning and what we're seeing here in the verses at least. But you see how, you know, how smooth, but there's still tension, but they smooth into the transitions. I love that. It goes out into a fetal position. Very tense. This was a freaking sick transition where he throws his hands out, people pull. The beauty of awareness. I love the fact that the dancers grabbed him right there at that moment and pulled him. It feels like a progression of the story. He's being forced. And also, that looks like concrete, and they're dragging him on it. So I think great costume choice for the fact that they were able to get this without it catching, you know. You have to think about all this stuff. It's really impressive. They're grabbing him, holding him down, grabbing all of his clothes. You take it, his eyes turn green or blue, and then it kind of gets teleported through. That was a freaking great transition, great masking effect down to here. This does remind me of we've seen other music videos. I would say BTS probably has a music video that has a similar background, but they used fire and a different color grade. But that circular, what I mean is like that circular kind of multi-story, old historical kind of township vibe, I really like because it really feels enclosed. It properly frames the dancers. And I don't know. I'm a fan of it because it feels intense and it feels enclosed, you know, kind of like a battle, you know, and I like it. And it's impressive whenever you don't have to rely upon garments to help with the masculinity of getting something across. There is, like, for me, I always struggled in the very early stages of being a professional dancer of, you know, I had to wear long sleeve garments because I always felt insecure about my arms and I didn't know how to utilize them in masculine styles as effectively. And so when I would do a crump jab, it just looked lanky and it just didn't look effective. And so it took time, and I got a certification as a personal trainer, so I forced myself to figure out the fitness side of things. And I wouldn't really count myself as a personal trainer now, and I'm totally okay with that. I prefer being a dance teacher. It's very different, a complete side note, but just, you know, for me, I would say it's impressive that he has the discipline of his body to be able to have that sense of masculine posture through just skin, you know, like that's very impressive for me, because I know there's even a lot of men that don't have that kind of muscle build or bulk muscle, and that can help, you know. And I think that he has a very healthy amount that really helps with this, and the tattoos help as well. I think it creates a very sense of distinguishable, like you really distinguish where he is, and everybody else is in a more baggy attire. So it's really cool how he can hold it down in that way, you know. Love the editing here. I know we're starting to play around with more slow motion, choppiness, that kind of stuff. So I can't really touch too much on the execution because the camera is infiltrating a little bit more than in the editing, more so than just like if it was just a one take, right? But I love how they chose to slow that down. It's really nice, you know. That right there, and they chose to throw it. That's more of a crump pocket right there. It goes jabs into a throw. This was really cool, using the camera to swipe where you want it to go, and he takes his arms and he throws it. So much intensity, right? Intensity here. The roar of using not just the voice. I mean, we don't really see his voice, but you just see his posture, right? If you just take a look, his head is in the back, and you notice that his posture is very open but strong. It's not like open and weak. So it's important, the direction of his openness, to determine what you want us to see. And that's what I'm noticing, is that everybody else is down, he's the only one up. So it's a really great way to show your focal point. And that right there, build this town, adding a nice heaviness to the end of it to still catch that bass and percussion. In the circle, he does a punch, everybody expands up and out, helps with the levels. Look at that. Oh, just the tension here. That is such a crump posture of attack, of intensity and vibrato, of movement, you know. Just the expansion out. So they're not doing any like crazy crumb technique or anything. I'd say it's very basic, but it's even crump basics is still very difficult to do authentically and well, and I think that they're really approaching it in a great way, and I think he's definitely having a pretty authentic representation of what he's bringing to the table, and I love that. So here we're reaching a more, it's still crescendoing, but there's still legato, the breaks, breathers, and the smoothness. He paces it down, doom, doom, doom. Camera work helps with that. Everybody paces down. The snaking around into the pulls. What makes that work is you have your breaks in between the tension. And when you go from something smooth into something sharp, it is always very impressive to see. Finishing, I mean, he even ends up grabbing two of the people to bring it all the way around, and I love that. Even here, he chose to go boo-da-doom, doo-da-doom, push down, but it was still tense behind it. He wasn't just throwing it. He was going doo-da-da-doom, doo-da-da-doom. Feels great, comes up, goes around, having his moment with the kick. Kick creates a new, like, masked transitional effect that can probably help if they're doing multiple takes or this or the other. I just really like that moment they did. That right there, as they go around, doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, you know, it's just, it's really great. Nice with the throw. He takes it, throws it, and he throws his body down. This was cool. We are, normally it's like, we are, but they double timed it, so it makes it more intricate and quick, but still tense. And just the breathing there. And then right there, they transition it over. The camera work is more free. And they go and they freaking punch the camera. I love that. And it goes a lot of that. A lot of just touching the pull. Just very conceptual in how he's approaching this. I love that. The boom with just the bass drop out. Boom. And then they reverse it. And they bring it back up. Look at this, just like this, just looking at the color grading. I love the darkness in a different historical part, more like it would, I know I've seen this a lot in more like historical dramas, right, where they have like the king's court and everybody like walks in different sections of this space and they have meetings and stuff, but just look at the red, right? It's just so, and it's like strobe. It's a strobe aesthetic, and it's only on half of their bodies. Super, super cool that we're seeing this. Yeah. And it doesn't look like a siren or anything, like a police situation. None of that. It just feels intense, like a red moon, I would say. And that it just feels so captivating having one dancer up and featured. It's the first time we're seeing another person featured outside of San. So that was a cool moment. Could be a cameo from another person, not sure. That right there, doom, 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 using the legs to help with the percussion, doom, so it goes open with the body, doom with the legs. Then it goes doom, 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 and then doom, pop off. So this right here is, this is just insane to me. Sorry, I kept pushing random buttons, but like, doom, push it. Then they drop it back down, bring it around, rev it up, throw it away. Grab it, lock it. This is the most intricate section. It's really impressive when you get a lot of people doing a lot of intricacy for a long time. This is at least an 8 count of just non-stop movement. See if I can count it. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about an 8 count and a half of like non-stop moving. And everybody's to be on the same page, and then you throw in this crazy dynamic of levels. They throw it, doon, 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 rev it up. Just for everybody to be on the same page. The lighting can only do so much. You have to be on the same page with how you're executing it in order for the lighting to be icing on the cake for you. So just that whole sequence was so captivating. And just switching directions to captivate on one side, bringing it up, bringing it in, that whole do-do-do-do with the peels, and then they throw it all together, doon-doon, bring it up, ready to go. Still, it's so good, and then they had time to turn in, and then you have San go up, slam it down, they go up, boom, having more of a dropped shoulder, dropped arms. As they finish, San looks up, and then he looks front. to finish. This was freaking cool. This was great. What a first look at ATEEZ for me. Like, this feels like a teaser to the whole group. I think it'd be cool if every member did something like this, so then I could just watch these and then I'd watch them all together and it'll be like Avengers Assemble, It's kind of what this feels like. But all in all, I mean, this was great. I loved it. I would say his pocket representation was pretty spot on. I think they picked great dancers to partake in it as well, and I'm definitely excited to see more from San, and as well as the choreographers affiliated, the dancers, and ATEEZ as a whole. I think it's gonna be super cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. I always enjoy watching dance concepts, K-pop, competition groups, what have you, just anything dance related. I always feel like I learn something new, whether it's from what I'm watching or it's from discussions with you guys in the comments, either YouTube, Patreon, what have you. If you want to see more of any K-pop, street woman fighter, street man fighter, any dance reality shows, battles, anything of the like, I have a plethora of that on YouTube, but I also have Patreon early access content on there where I have Patreon requests, get incentives like ad-free content. All the stuff that may not ever make its way to YouTube is all hanging out there for your eyes to take a look at. But if you're just chill with YouTube, I'm chill with having you there too. Excited for the discussions on this one, and I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side.